Please welcome Robert Scoble. Yay! Hi.
Hi, how are you doing? Let me get my
Good.
microphone over here.
Robert Scoble, of course, tech master and AI
Well, I'm not a
master.
master. I
You're the
know all the
master.
masters.
So the reason I know of you, when I first heard of you, is because you worked with my husband at a company in San Francisco called Rackspace, and
Yeah.
even back then you were reporting on all kinds of new technology, and your reporting has always been different. It's not just this company's coming out with this and this has happened. It's always been really a deep look into the what are you doing? How are you doing it? And why are you doing it? And I've always been fascinated by the stories you come up with. And I'm really excited to announce that you have a new show coming out too. Is it
Yeah.
Unaligned? I see on
Yeah.
your shirt. It's right there. Tell me about it.
It's an AI term. If AI goes unaligned, it's gone anti-human. It started, killing people or doing something naughty. That's the fear long in the future that it might do that. For humans, it means that you're not attached to any organization. So it's a little fun name. But I'm interviewing a bunch of AI entrepreneurs, people who are using AI to run their businesses and build things. So it's
Okay, cool.
going to
And
be a fun
so
time.
how do people find it? Is it a YouTube show or is it a podcast or what
It'll
is it?
be on X.com and
Oh,
YouTube and Facebook. It'll be everywhere.
everywhere. Look at you.
But it'll be YouTube is where you put video, right?
I was reading a story just this morning that on Wednesday, there's going to be a very secret closed door meeting and all the bigwigs are going to be there. Musk is going to be there and Zuckerberg's going to be there and the Google
At
folks are
Bletchley
going to be
Park,
there.
right?
It's a meeting in Washington D.C. and it all has to do with AI.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Trying to
I
figure out how to regulate this and how to keep some of the nasty stuff from happening, because there is a lot of dystopia and nasty stuff that could come with AI, joblessness, um, wealth inequality, and then this existential threat, down the line where it could decide to get rid of us.
I was reading a quote from you, and I don't have the quote in front of me. I'm sorry, so I'm going to mess it up. But it was along the lines of, "Listen, it we're going to feel pain before we, get to the good stuff about AI. That there's always going to be lost jobs. There's going to be the bad parts of it too." Before we get to like the reason
Mm.
why we switch, the reason why technology moves us along.
The productivity gains that are coming are pretty interesting. I mean, yes, people who drive taxis and trucks over the next 20 years, their job is in real threat. Um, but we're going to have less tragedies on the road and a much more productive economy, and be able to use cars and trucks for things that we don't really use them for right now.
What do you mean about productivity down the road? What else is coming? What does America look like in 10 years and 20 years?
There's people who are building factory systems that use AI. I mean, let's just get a little bit more real. Um, Surgeons are using AI in the HoloLens to help them do their surgery. That makes them more productive, right? And there's a lot of AI that's coming after a whole raft of jobs. I have a list on X.com of 2,200 AI companies, and they're going
Mm,
after everything from psychiatry to driving, and
yeah.
yeah, this is something you should pay attention to.
I mean, are
It's
we going to be able to think for ourselves anymore, or is all the thinking going to be done
oh,
for us?
well, for a while, I mean, the large language models that are underneath some of the systems, like ChatGPT or Google's Bard, they do hallucinate or technically confabulate errors. They make things up, and
Yeah,
so as a human being, if you're going to use AI to write a college essay or something like that,
yeah,
you gotta check all the facts.
yeah.
So you
Um,
still got to engage your brain. Maybe 10 years from now, you won't have to engage your brain, and that'll be a
Now we
problem.
have to, yeah. So I recently saw this story that I think maybe it was a month or so ago, maybe not that long, that you had posted about going to, I don't know if it was a convention or a company, and looking at robots that were kind of humanoid robots and your
Yeah.
fascination with them. Are these robots that are human-like and using AI? And are like, does every house going to have one? What's going on with this?
Eventually, yes. The one to watch is actually the Optimus from Tesla, because he has the ability to get it into your house because he has the autonomous car. And so the autonomous car, I mean, I have a Tesla in my garage. It just drove me all around Silicon Valley, right? That can bring a robot to your home. And the
Wait,
technology and the
what do
data
you
set that
what
he
do you
has is just
what do you
bigger.
mean your Tesla can bring a robot to your home? Like it just knocks on your door one day? What happens?
Yeah, you know, my Tesla
Welcome.
might open the garage door and go pick one up someday, and then you come back and it'll deliver it to my house, you know, and then come in and go, hey, it's nice to see you. What, you know, do you want me to fold your laundry or do your dishes or clean your windows or clean
I
your
mean,
toilets?
we laugh, but you're not, you don't, you're serious.
No, I'm very serious. Right now, it's hard to get people to see that world because these kinds of robots are not done yet, not ready for that kind of work, but they're getting closer and closer. Stanford has a robot that does 1,600 tasks, right? So you just say a few more years. I mean, this stuff is learning pretty quick. So right now, a robot like that probably is going to cost about $100,000,
Ooh,
but it's 26 little electric motors. How much do those really cost? Not much. I'm expecting if when they make them at scale, they're going to be able to reduce the price to less than $5,000. When it does that, that's when you're going to have one in your house, or a lot of people will, right?
what's the time span that you think that will happen?
Irene, I think that's 2026.
What?
Yeah. It's going to happen fairly quick because the learning that is happening in the AI world is moving at a frightening pace, right? Uh, Elon just showed a system 2 weeks ago that learns by watching videos, millions of them, and learn
Oh,
to drive a car. A self-driving car is a robot, right? It's just not one with fingers.
am I wrong to be scared of it? Because I look at the army
Mhm.
of Tesla robots that we just saw on the screen, and my first thought is a Will Smith movie, right? The I Robot. They're all coming after me. I mean, am I wrong to look at that and think,
Believe me,
um,
I'm scared a lot of times about AI and robots. So no, you're not
maybe
wrong to be scared of this technology. It does bring some new problems that we have to figure out. But this is really going to assist people as well and help them live their lives.
Oh, wow. Okay. So within what, the next 2 years, we're going to see accessible robots that can come into our
Well,
homes. And
2 years probably in a factory situation or in a
okay,
higher net worth situation, right? Somebody can afford a $50,000 robot. uh, by the end of the decade, they're coming down in price, and there's going to be a lot of them, not just Tesla. There's other companies working on them as well.
we saw um them doing tasks in the video. Do they talk to you?
Yeah, that's a large language model. You can already get Chat GPT on your iPhone and talk to an AI, and it talks back, and it's pretty damn good.
And so the robots will do this too.
Oh yeah.
And
In
so
fact,
here, okay, are you gonna
one
play me
thing I
something?
love doing is pulling out Chat GPT and just having it record, you know, while we're talking. So there's a little microphone down here. Now it's recording. And if as it listens to you, um, it will start talking back to you as soon as we send the recording to it. It's really pretty amazing at what it's doing. Hey, Chad GPT, can you say hi and tell us a little bit about what you can do for human beings? Right. So you send that up and then you can watch it right back to
Oh,
you.
wow. Look how fast it goes.
I'm ChatGPT. I can assist with a wide range of tasks, answering questions, helping with research, tutoring on various subjects, providing writing assistance, brainstorming ideas, and much more. My primary goal is to provide information and facilitate productive conversations. How can I assist you today? Right?
Oh man.
So
Okay.
soon you're going to have a virtual being on your phone that you're
Yep.
talking to like this, and it's going to talk back to you, and it can talk back to you in any language. It's really crazy, and you can
That
talk
is.
to it in any language.
So we know the robots are coming. God, that sounds ominous. We know we have the Chat GPT. What else is on the line coming our way that maybe we don't haven't really, been delving into?
There's 2,200 companies I've found. There's actually a lot more than that. That's just what I found on X.com. And these are companies that are doing, helping you with writing, doing really weird video editing. My videos, by the way, when I import them into a program called Descript, the AI writes a transcript, and then you edit the video by copying and pasting text from the transcript, and then it also, if you have a fan noise in the room or something like that, it gets rid of that. The AI gets rid of
Oh,
that. It's so there's a lot of things that AI can do to help people do all sorts of tasks,
right.
and there's thousands of companies already that are doing all sorts of things, from
Yeah.
helping people run factory floors to run retail
Yeah.
stores to
You had
being able to
mentioned
talk to it and get some answers or some college essays written. You know?
Y- You had mentioned earlier surgeons doing things, and I was reading a story this morning about Meta's virtual reality technology
Yeah.
actually being used to train surgeons. The story today is saying doctors are practicing at home while wearing the Q2 VR goggles that simulate medical procedures. And medical schools are also now adding VR to the curriculum.
Yeah.
So this is technology coming into play.
It's been here for a while. It's just it's hard to get people to buy headsets for VR. At Stanford University, they have a VR group, and they took 360 cameras out on the football field and captured the football practice. And then they put the quarterback into a VR headset so that he could watch his practice over and over again.
Right.
And he started improving his stats because he could see things that were happening on the field in VR. He could stop or slow down the game so that he could see what was going on better
Right.
than he could in real life and learn the patterns.
Wow.
Yeah.
Today I was also reading an article that Tim Burton has come out and he's saying, listen, even if the AI copying my art, the results is pretty good, it's missing humanity and soul. So, for
Yeah.
all of these things, for all of these help with writing that we're going to get, for all of the, assistance and, trying to do things, are we missing a key piece of humanity when we introduce AI?
It's funny. The founder of Amy, AIMI, he's a generative AI music company. He said, AI can make music now, and it's okay,
Yeah.
but it doesn't test that well with human beings.
Interesting.
If they add just a little bit of human performance into that AI, it
Yeah.
tests like a real song. People like that. So that's the trick. I say you got to sprinkle some human sauce onto it, right?
Mhm.
Same thing if you're going to turn in a college essay from Chat GPT. If you just turn it in the way it kicks it out, well, it probably has an error or two there that was hallucinated by it. So you got to fix the error. But it also has this kind of cold pattern to it. A lack of soul might be a way to put it. You got to add some human sauce to it. You got to make it a little bit more interesting, a little bit weirder, a little bit, a little bit more human. And you got to
Right.
add a little bit on top of what the AI does, and then you'll get A's on your essay. Right?
I'm wondering what the human jobs will look like in the future.
I
So
don't know.
if
I
if
mean, I have a list of 1,500 AI artists that I'm watching, and this is a crowd of people that's kicking out the most incredible art. Every few seconds, a new piece shows up on my tweet deck. I have a screen where I can
Mhm,
watch X.com
mhm.
raining down like the Matrix, and and this whole crowd didn't exist 6 months ago,
Yeah.
right?
So you think people will find a way to use AI to make money for themselves?
And have fun and entertain people and educate people and educate themselves, right? My favorite prompt of Chat GPT is, please show me all points of view on X on a topic,
Mhm.
and it does. It's really good.
When you look at all these companies that you mentioned, what do you think best practices should be? What are some of the rules that maybe haven't been uh, in place until now that ought to be?
You have to understand this new technology if you're a business. You have to understand what the risks are of intellectual property being sucked into OpenAI, right? If you copy a spreadsheet into ChatGPT, all of a sudden OpenAI has your spreadsheet, has everything in it, and has the technology to understand everything in that spreadsheet.
Hmm.
So it can see patterns in your business that maybe you didn't even see. Well, is that data going into a training set for the future of OpenAI's training? Yes, if you are going in the front door. If you're coming in through the API door, if you're a professional, you can use the API. There, the rules are different. They don't ingest your private data. But most of the businesses are building systems where these large language models are behind their own firewall so that they can protect their intellectual property and keep it from going into some of these AI systems because they're getting very smart.
I've read that there's a kind of an issue with AI where the two words predictable and unpredictable are used. So creative, they say, can be wonderful but also unpredictable. When you look at AI, is it a predictable science, or can you not predict what this humanoid robot in your house folding your laundry is going to do next?
Oh, you're going to be able to predict gross things like, oh, please go and do my laundry now. Right. And it will go and do your laundry. Now, does it do it exactly the same way? Does it stand in exactly the same place? No. This AI, in fact, if you talk to Chat GPT, if you ask it the same question, you'll get a slightly different answer both times. It's a little unpredictable, but it is answering the question for you, right? It's like a human being. If you ask me the same question twice, I'm going to give you a slightly different answer both times.
That's true. I mean, I guess in that way, it's rather human-like.
Yes.
I'm looking at though that the robots we looked at and all the advancements to kind of help make our lives easier. And even in the Bay Area, there are companies that are now doing the Jetsons flights. Like you can come have a vertical liftoff at your house, and they'll take you to SFO. It feels like finally the future has come. All these little things that we saw in the movies of the past are now almost here. And I don't know if people are going to cope well.
Yeah, we'll deal. Real deal. I mean, when I was a kid and I first got my first computer, an Apple II computer back in 1977, if you
Yeah.
told me that there would be one of those underneath every light in my house, I would be like, you're insane. But my little lights on the wall here have a computer under them that's more powerful than that Apple II.
Yeah.
And connected to the internet and has microphones. I mean, these little lights that cost a couple $100, right? So
Yeah.
my entire world is science fiction now. Everything is changing, and as a human being, you gotta start catching up because this is going to catch a lot of people unaware. Maybe not today, but in a couple of years, when you get a pair of glasses at an Apple store or something like that, you're going to be talking to the AI, and it's going to be talking to you, and it's going to be doing a lot of things.
There's a lot of money in AI. We've seen some companies, just,
Billions.
yeah, take the money hand over fist. Is the new hub of AI San Francisco?
Yeah.
Or, as I read, is Seattle an AI hub? Where is the
There are
center of AI going to be?
definitely San Francisco is
Okay.
where the nexus is and the most activity. There are hubs around the world: Tel Aviv, Beijing, Seattle, New York. There's a lot of AI people all over the place, but the big dollar work is being done here in Silicon Valley. And you see that, right? With the autonomous cars, you go to San Francisco, you see
Yeah.
autonomous cars everywhere now.
Yep.
You don't see that in the rest of America,
Yeah.
right? Or the rest of the world.
The story I'm reading says AI has Forbes AI 50 has uh, Seattle startups. There are a bunch of, of startups in Seattle. Um, and then there's also, as you mentioned, a lot in San Francisco, and Bloomberg has come out with a list um, of the 10 AI companies to watch right now. And I think OpenAI is on the list. Who looks like they're emerging to be the leaders in this field to you?
OpenAI is certainly one that I watch very closely. I mean, there's a whole number of competitors. Anthropic is one that
Hmm.
has an AI that works similarly to ChatGPT, but can take much longer documents. So you can feed an entire book to it. It can
Yeah.
read the book, and then it can spit a book back out to you. It's crazy what's going on, right? So there's a whole variety of companies that are in that top tier that are trying to compete for the mass consumer over the next few years.
Are other countries beating us when it comes to AI? Are things that are happening in China or other countries around the world, are they competing with us, or are we outpacing them when it comes to this new technology?
The Chinese LL, the technology underneath ChatGPT is called a large language model, right? It's
Hmm.
a machine with a trillion knobs, basically. It's a very
Hmm.
complex new machine. Um, and in China, they are definitely competing with us, whether they're ahead of us or behind us. You know, most people say they're a little bit behind, but they're starting to kick out large language models that are pretty interesting. And they have a lot of manufacturing data that they can feed to their model and train their model on. So I have a feeling if I want to learn how to make an high speed electric train, I'm going to have to download the Chinese LLM, right,
Oh.
and use that to get the engineering data, because they've built 1,000 electronic trains there. We haven't built one, so they're going to feed that data into their large language model and train it to be smarter than ours is about that topic. Now, would I use the Chinese one to learn about Tiananmen Square? No, right?
Yeah.
That ain't gonna be in the Chinese one, at least not for a while. So you know, there you have to download or use something from ChatGPT or download your own. There's many that are coming. In fact, I just saw a whole system yesterday that runs on your phone without being connected. So that's what's mind blowing about this for me.
Mm.
This large language model compressed all of human knowledge. In fact, it read 20 years of my blogs, ingested that, ran it through a bank of NVIDIA cards to make this model, which is less than a terabyte in size. That can run on my phone. And now I can talk to my phone without being connected to the internet and get answers to literally any question.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
When you go and talk to the people at these companies, because I know you go
A
out a
new
lot,
series coming, in other words. A
are
new
they
series. Someday a new series coming that it's actually gonna understand you. Right now it does, the old technology doesn't understand you a lot of times, but the new one does.
No, but when you go out to these companies and you talk to people about what they're doing there and how they're creating things, are they secretive about it, or are they so excited they can't wait to tell you?
The small companies are excited because they need customers, right?
Hmm.
And so they're much more open to talking. Everybody's trying to keep secrets, right? If some engineer figures out a way to make one of these models better than OpenAI can make it, they don't tell you about
Yeah.
that until it's out, and then they brag about it, right? You know, and say, "Hey, download our new model. It does something that OpenAI doesn't do." You know.
Wes from Florida writes, the problem is only the big companies with lots of server power can host your large model AI systems, and therefore they will control how the AI behaves.
That's sort of true, but there's new AIs coming that use 1/10 the number of NVIDIA cards. So let's say OpenAI needed 10,000 NVIDIA cards to make its model, which is $1 billion worth of models. Tesla has just spent a couple $1 billion in their um, data center to run all their AI computers, 20,000 AI computers in data centers, a huge amount of numbers. The newer AI learns faster and learns with less data. So one of the trends right now is Yeah, you're probably right about the big ass large language model that's running at Google or running at OpenAI, but there's a lot of work to do with smaller models, and there's open source models like from Meta. Meta is kicking out large language models that are open source, and so
Yeah.
you can run those without being connected to Meta, right? Which is pretty interesting.
A lot of people in the chat worried about jobs, about what people are going to do. That there are good things beneficial to humanity, writes Flo, but underneath it all, can't stop thinking about what happened to the Terminator movies and other sci-fi films. Other people are worried about unemployment numbers and income inequality. And what happens is, does this create a bigger divide in our society?
That's one of the real problems we're going to have, and we're going to have a conversation about policies in America. My dad escaped poverty by getting going to the army for a few years and getting a GI Bill, which paid for his education. He got a PhD at Rutgers because of this. We need policies like that. I don't like guaranteed minimum income, but that should be on the table to discuss as well. But we do need to worry about that long term, because some people are going to find it very hard to change from, let's say, a truck driver to some other kind of job in society. There will be plenty of jobs. There's plenty of jobs. It's just they're very highly skilled jobs, which you need an education for. If you want to work in AI or building robots or stuff like that, you gotta be a much more technical person than a truck driver, and that's a real problem.
I'm running out of my Robert Scoble time, which is upsetting to me. Before I let you go, I want to ask you, and I'm seeing, it's so interesting. I'm seeing AI stories from all sectors. AI now being used in real estate and renovating houses, in trade data, all of these things. And people are wondering, now that it's seeping into everything we're doing, is the potential for AI to cause evil big or no?
Last September, I sat next to one of the top AI safety researchers for 10 hours coming home from the UK. And he spent most of that 10 hours freaking me out.
Oh,
So it is possible. And
what did he say?
I was like, well, I
Tell
was
me the
like, how
bad
does
news.
well, I was like, how would it go unaligned, right? How would it do that? Become anti-human? He's like, well, it's AI is already better than a surgeon at seeing tumors in scans, and a surgeon is amongst the most highly trained humans we got, right? So if the AI is better than them at seeing at their job, at this specific job, maybe it gets better at doing things than all humans. That's a scary world.
Where
And
does that leave us?
well, that's an interesting question. But where does that leave the AI? Does the AI decide it doesn't need us, 20, 30, 40 years from now? Or five,
Yeah.
when this
Yeah.
AGI, this true generalized intelligence shows up, and it's looking like it's going to show up in the next decade.
Oh, freaks me out. Is
Yeah.
there anything that I
You can
didn't
talk to it
ask
about your
you?
problems, though, and you
Like a
can say, "I just
therapist?
got laid off. What should I do?" And it'll lay out a whole plan for you to get another job.
Oh, that's so funny. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you've been looking at or that you want to mention? Because I'm sure that you're aware of technology that I can't even wrap my head around.
The thing that's about to come in November is multimodal AI, and that means that it can look at your camera in real time and know everything that it's seeing. Berkeley's AI group showed me that an iPhone can already see hundreds of thousands of things. So if you aim it at a Coke can, it goes, "Oh, that's a Coke can." If you aim it at a Toyota RAV4, "Oh, that's a RAV4." Right? If you aim it at a thing of milk, "Oh, that's a carton of milk." Right? And that will bring us a whole raft of new assistance in society, and a bunch of new things, new fun things to do with our iPhones.
Do you have to enable that technology or will the camera just see everything and go for it?
You have to. It's not going to happen automatically. You got to download
Yeah, like I
an
don't want
app
that.
into
Sometimes I don't want people to see everything going on.
well,
Not that I'm doing
10
anything
years from
wrong in
now,
here, but
10 years from now, is your phone just listening to you? It's possible. it's really possible these lights have microphones on them. Could it be listening to me?
Oh.
It's possible.
I was reading a story that
Generally, you have to agree to let it do that, right?
I was reading a story that Google was saying that they held back on technology. They had this technology that could identify the face of everyone.
Yeah.
And they pulled back and they didn't release it and they didn't move forward with it because I don't know if it was, they didn't know how to control it or people were concerned about it or what. Have you seen that? Have you
Yeah, I
been
interviewed the
reading?
founders of the company that Facebook or Mark Zuckerberg bought to do his facial recognition, and I was like, this was 10 years ago. I was like, where is this leading? It's like, you shouldn't be scared that we have the algorithm. The algorithm is not that big a deal. You should be scared that we have 2 billion people's photos.
Oh.
In other words, we can train it to see everybody's face with this data set, right? And
Yeah.
you're seeing that, right? I was filming one day and somebody walked in my video who was a friend, and it said, oh, Jeff is walking through your video. And I'm like,
That is crazy.
yeah, it can do a lot of things. They're being very muted because they don't want to freak people out. If they freak too many people out, we'll call our congressmen or congresswomen and get some regulation, right? And that's also happening. One thing that your audience might find fascinating, this technology is an extraordinary listening tool, as I demonstrated it. There's psychiatrists who are using ChatGPT to listen to their therapy sessions with their patients' approval. And I did this with one of the psychiatrists. And I talked to her for 30 minutes, had a conversation sort of like this, where we were just talking about, things in my life and how things are going. And it wrote 7 highly detailed scientific notes on the conversation and figured out all my mental illnesses out of 30-minute conversation.
Wow.
Right. So, yeah, it's scary, but it also helps the psychiatrist provide a much better quality of care because she has the ability to track you over meetings, and the AI is helping her.
Well,
She told me on Friday she thinks it's going to be malpractice to not use AI soon because it's so good.
interesting. But I wonder if it will kind of develop mental illnesses for people that don't even necessarily have them. Like, what kind of mental illnesses does it say you have? And are you sure? And what if you weren't even going to a psychologist and all of a sudden it hears you and it says, I think you have XYZ. These are things you didn't even want to.
PTSD or dementia or
Right.
autism or right.
So interesting. Oh, man. All right, Robert
The new
Scoble.
world we're going into. And I'm trying to track it as fast as possible because it's moving fast. There's a lot coming.
So tell us one more time, how can we find your new show, Unaligned?
I would follow me on x.com because that's where I do all my work. I have lists of all the AI companies, all the AI artists, all the investors, a bunch of other things there. And I'm watching 70,000 people who do this kind of AI, and I'm constantly resharing their posts. So thanks.
Unaligned, there you are. And what's your Twitter handle? Is it at Scobalizer?
Yeah, it is.
At
The last name and then IZER.
At Scobalizer. The new show is called Unaligned, All Things AI. It's something we all have to keep up with, and I can't think of anyone better to help us do that than Robert Scoble. 3rd time's the charm, my friend. Thank you for being here. I'm going to talk to you again next year.
I love you. Thanks.
I love you too. Thank you for coming on.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell, you'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.